record alone and how it is you record with me, or how it is you don't record, right? How it is you just speak. I mean, that's the big myth about phone calls, is that we actually think that it's just candid communication. We're left to believe like, oh, it's not really being recorded, even though, yeah, somewhere it's being recorded, and maybe in the future some grand AI will pull it all back together and say, look what your conversation was, and you weren't even conscious you were recording what you were recording, therefore X, Y, and Z. But that's what I mean by, I guess
it would be a good step, at least, you know, to record our conversation, whereas instead of doing a group hangout, you know, where there's other people, you know, actively participating.
Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, the thing, yeah, group dynamics and your group conversation are definitely different than just one-on-one. But I still, you know, I don't know, the way, I don't know, I think the way that you treat the inmendham character, actually the way you treat all the characters in your book or your play or your theater, your script, you know, you're very detailed around the edges of each one, meaning you've outlined what the character is, and then you've already made a meta character out of each one. And but I don't know, I mean, besides the inmendham, so what did you name the inmendham character again?
Epite.
Oh, he is the Epite. And then what was the name of the cat again?
Lily Puppy. That was your cat that you lost in Seattle?
No, I know Lily Puppy. I just meant
the cat character. Oh no, the cat character would be the companion to the clown, but I don't know if I'm going to use it.
No, but you said that there was one not called Ricardo, but something else.
Oh, the aberration of Epite. His name would be Santino.
Oh, Santino. Okay. So there's,
yeah, because there's a bunch of clones of Epite, and one of them is an aberration that is the complete opposite of Epite. He loves life, and he loves the world, and he loves people, but he still has all the personality traits. You know, he has the rage and uncontrollable anger, and he likes to argue.
Right. So basically, it's all the attributes of inmendham, but with an inverted philosophy to the one he holds. Yeah, and then I function as a Shakespearean clown. But then where does Lily Puppy come in again? Where's the?
Again, I don't know if I'm going to use it because I haven't really detailed or sketched out the character.
Right.
Just with the things that I told you about, you know, Puppy would communicate like a transistor radio.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm going to use the cat or not because it would be really difficult. Especially writing the screenplay, how I would write the dialogue, and then just thinking about copyright. But I guess I would forget about copyright because the Winchester house is copyrighted, I'm sure. No. Shakespeare's copyrighted.
Well, I don't know who's going to sue you with the Shakespeare thing, but yeah, you know, now plenty of people quote Shakespeare in movies, but the Winchester house thing, I'm sure there's nothing copyrighted about that other than that new movie that you were talking about. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I still think you shouldn't. It is peculiar, though, that, like you said, that you start writing it and then all of a sudden somebody makes a damn movie about it. And that is kind of the weird, you know, paradox that comes with reality. And I don't know. For me, I don't know. I sat there thinking, like, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing with the online stuff and not letting art go, but unleashing it, like letting it go to release myself from the monkey trap, so to speak, kind of formulated into a contradiction where all of a sudden the art came back to me and then other stuff started exploding at the same time. And so it was kind of the dumb poem of, you know, if you love something, let it go, and if it comes back to you, it was meant to be. And before I would have poo-pooed on that idea because the you know, I would have been lost in the metaphor. But anyway, and so my point though is that as you write this film, then all of a sudden competing movies, other people are sharing the same idea. It's kind of that whole idea that if you have an idea in the world, that somewhere else that idea is becoming manifest in other people's minds, and
Well,
so
it is strange, and I was quite aware, even when I had the idea of making a film surrounding the Winchester house and the history of the house, and making a film or a mythology, creating my own mythology and kind of planting it onto the house and the history of the house. I was already aware that the film was in the works, so I was aware at the time that there was somebody else that it was in the works already. So
oh, you were aware of
that. I was aware of it. I was from the beginning. I was aware of it.
Oh, well, if you were aware of it, then yeah.
It's still very uncanny to, you know, why would they decide to make a film when the house is 120 years old now at this time? You know, when they could, you know, it could have been made in any other decade. You know,
well,
even though cinema is relatively still, you know, young.
Why? I mean, what were you kind of feeling like you were going to race against their film, or you were going to use the fact that you knew that they were making a film as part of the inspiration, or like you said before, that you wanted it to be how do you put it? A subplot within your film, the fact that another film is being made. I had
no plot. You know, when the idea, all I knew is that I wanted to make a film at the Winchester house. There was no plot, no nothing. So the idea slowly accumulated over the years. So I didn't really have no plot or anything. All they're doing, this movie that's coming out, making a cookie cutter kind of cut and paste film about the mythology of the house, about the sensationalism that surrounds the house. And, you know, because, you know, she's this mad woman. She, you know, the heiress to the Winchester rifle. Her husband died of tuberculosis. She sought out a psychic medium. The psychic medium told her to appease all the lives that were lost to the Winchester rifle. So they're just doing a cut and paste version of this sensationalist kind of propaganda, when my film's kind of radically different. It has nothing to do with Sarah Winchester. It's just completely different.
No, I know. Well, yeah, I know. I mean, we already talked about it. The mythological you're it's almost like the house is just it's like a mere shell or inspiration for a whole other mythic application that you're impressing upon it, to tell a whole different story with only a few tangents to the you know, the regular story about the house. So
I mean, there's still going to be some connections because, you know, I'm developing a story, Shakespearean widows that are featured in the main ballroom of the house, and I'm still going to utilize the rifle, the Winchester rifle, and the character's name. You know, Sarah Winchester won't be featured as a character. There's still going to be, you know, characters with the name Winchester. Still going to be a connection, but it's going to depart radically. But I'm at the same time overlaying a story and a mythology over the history, the mystique of the house.
no, you're going peaked robot kind of, but it's okay because I kind of got it. But I still think, yeah, no, not now, but I think you've laid it out. I think it's really good that that you tied in The tidbits, and I was just trying, like, besides the inmendham dospook combo, what other people were you bringing in that you knew online?
Nobody else really. Just those are the two main characters. One of the two main characters. The other ones, it kind of, since I'm kind of creating a story surrounding the two Shakespearean windows, it kind of follows the narrative of the Shakespearean sonnet. So I have characters from the sonnet that I'm kind of extracting that is going to kind of be their own characters. That, you know, there's a mistress in the sonnet, and she's gonna, and her name is the Dark Lady. And what I'm gonna do with that character, she's gonna be a psychic medium, and you know, and also another character, the rival poet in the sonnet, is I'm gonna kind of extract that out, and instead of being Christopher Marlowe, because a lot of people speculated that the rival poet in the sonnet was Christopher Marlowe, I'm going to kind of turn it into the Rimbaud figure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're dedicated to the sonnets were dedicated to this aristocratic man. Shakespeare dedicated these sonnets to this aristocratic man, and then the sonnets, he's urging him to reproduce his beauty by having children. And we're going to take this aristocratic man and turn it into a portrait. And so it kind of, there's a portrait involved, but he's not a character. And
yeah.
It's really,
it wasn't like a Dorian Gray portrait. It was more of a. But I mean, because you were talking about falling into it and coming out the roof and the chimney or something. Like you had a whole like not bedknobs and broomsticks, but like more of a Lewis Carroll sort of approach to popping out of the myth. And
I wanted to create a fairy tale, and I wanted to combine elements of Alice in Wonderland with the macabre and Edgar Allan Poe and Shakespeare, just the aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Really, kind of, I wanted to create like a modern day Shakespearean kind of the essence, bring back Shakespeare, kind of the essence of Shakespeare. Like if Shakespeare was using if Shakespeare was alive today, he would use the stage. And I don't know.
The hell you say? I think that he would be more like Alice in Chains, Alice Cooper, or no, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be. Who knows what he'd be? Boy, he'd be freaked. He wouldn't even know how to handle modern English. But anyway, I'm not. That's a worthless. That part's a worthless speculation. But I hear what you're saying. It would be interesting if Shakespeare was actually zapped into the future and could make movies and did that instead of plays.
The main character, Asa Winchester, he's also the poet from the sonnets, so he is Shakespeare, and he's also the wolf. And so with the portrait, how it relates to the portrait, it kind of, and how it connects to the sonnets is that, this character is trying to get in contact with his dearly beloved, the portrait represents an ideal. So he's trying to get in contact using seances to this person that he loves. But the person it mostly represents an ideal, or the highest ideal, or how you should orientate yourself in the world. So he's trying to get in contact. So the portrait plays a really important function in the story.
Speaking of that, I got the 4-girl portrait that I was supposed to work on and finish before Christmas, and the grandmother wanted all of it to be very conservative and very ideal and very pristine and not a lot of kooky, extra symbolic stuff, even though I'm like, wow, if I can't do the kooky, then I kind of don't want to do the rest of it. But just the significance of a portrait over time. Wow. Yeah, and you know, that's why I'm thinking is at this stage, it's probably really important for you to knock out a completed work, even if the completed work is not the finished movie, but merely the script, merely to finish the script. You you sound like Baby Smurf. You sound like a little bitty Ant-Man.
Oh, sorry. I keep thinking it's on speaker, so I keep holding the phone back.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
I'm talking to you on the phone, and my headphones are plugged into the phone, and I keep forgetting. So I keep thinking it's on speaker.
Oh shit! I keep hitting.
And I'm slightly nervous because I think you're recording this.
Well, at this stage, this phone of mine has some recording device going on. But I think you know, provided that I'm recording, you're holding up real well. I just
Am I doing good?
You're fine.
Well, I'm not. I sound like I'm babbling. I don't, especially when you're questioning me about the film and things like that.
Well, more or less, I'm trying to like figure out what my cat's psychology is listening, because I think the cat's really the recording device. What's that?
You're wondering about the psychology of the character Lilith Puppy in my screenplay?
No. My actual cat right now, Puppers and Ideogram. Puppers, aka Ideogram, is listening and hanging out with us right now. I don't know if you knew that I had a new cat, a street cat, that didn't have like hanging rocks in the sock boobies. This particular homeless kitty is the only thing that's oddball is that it doesn't know how to shit in its own litter box.
There's a stray cat that comes in my backyard, and it looks like, was your cat Lily Puppy with a gray spotted cat, white coat?
Yep.
But the way it purrs, it's like it's missing its voice box. The way it meows, it sounds like it's missing its voice box. So when it meows, it sounds really weird.
Yeah, it is weird, like I'm guessing.
Yeah, you've heard that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard cats that can't. They don't make any noise.
It's like it can't meow. It can't meow.
Oh man, I gotta upload this cool. It's a cool video of a train going by this huge haunted factory that was here in Salt Lake earlier tonight, and I got a recording of it. I'm psyched about it because on the outside of it is a big metal old industrial tower, and it's got all this graffiti on the outside and shit. I think I'll post that on Facebook here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to think about, you know, pattern interrupts and how to you know, pose something that is not, aren't expecting to see it, they're not expecting to hear it, and then kind of try to guide people into a you know, not a call to action like a sales thing, but more like a call to focus, a call to meditate, a call to imagination. You know, like follow everything that you was when you said, "Oh yeah, the heart that comes out of my chest and it's stitched on, and then the black ghost and whatnot," you reminded me of the visualization that came along with everything, because I was thinking, I don't know.
Was the black ghost friendly? I mean, how was his presence? He had
no. It was an unfriendly sensation. But that was a time, that was 2 times ago in Vegas.
He said he would hit you down if you didn't start running.
Yeah.
He was black, and the ghost, he said he'd hit you down, and your legs were crippled.
Yeah.
and his legs were crippled, and your legs were crippled, and the ghost had no legs. Did the ghost have a waist?
No, ghost didn't have legs. And
okay.
so,
when you say black, do you mean African American or just like a shadow figure?
no, it was more African American. You know, it was more like a black man ghost that had
Was
no
it
legs. That was hovering.
I mean, was it transparent or like a full like blood and gut and innard and?
It was like seeing a person, you turn and you're looking at them, and then you look down and you realize that they don't have any legs, but not in the amputation sense, but in the they're floating with no legs sense. And I mean, it was very, very, that was very ghostly for sure. But the heart stitch thing, when you mentioned that, because even earlier today I was thinking like, finally I let go emotionally and actually and pragmatically of my old love, and like I've carried on, and then I was like, but I can't, like, oh, and she's still there, and then and now you're mentioning, oh, my heart, the golden heart, pops out of my chest and is stitching the name on, like I can't get away from it, and you're reminding me of that, even though I guess that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, to pragmatize my universe, to believe in it, and yet what I'm believing in is locked digital locking, like spiritual digital locking. Therefore, if there's blockchain technology, then that's like locking down spirits. It's like spirit chains. You know, like nothing can stop the spirit block, the spirit necklace. I don't know. That's all kind of goofy to think like, oh yeah, we're water and we're spirit and we're clumpy dumpy, but oh, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I thought. I mean, and this.
Even and just thinking about ectoplasm, you know, during spiritualism, when these fake photos were, you know, a lot of, you see these old photos of people faking spirit phenomenon and ectoplasm when they'd use in the parlor, they would use to, you know, ectoplasm is that it's supposed to be the spirit and manifesting itself. And a lot of frauds, a lot of mediums who would, you know, fraud people, they would fake this ectoplasm in a dark parlor room, and they would use like animal liver, and a lot of the mediums would conceal this ectoplasm in like the genitals. You know, if it was a woman, she would conceal it in her vagina, things like that.
Well, I think vaginas already have ectoplasm. That's what fills up. That's where vaginal juice comes from, is ectoplasm. But no, I hear you. And then and frog, you know, probably a lot of people like licking frogs and then rubbing the remainder onto something and going, look at that goo.
No, I said frauds.
Oh, frauds, not frogs. Oh, those damn frogs. Those fraudulent frogs. Kermit the Fraud. Yeah. So right on. Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about I don't know what to think about frauds and ectoplasm and whatnot. I don't recall my history with this and that doesn't include any ectoplasm, but I did notice, like, in terms of stats, that I did have a lot more nasal mucus back in the days of my spiritual interaction with the universe.
And you did drink dead snake.
I did, in fact, yeah. And it's so weird because the dude,
where did you get this? And you said it was Habu snake.
Yeah.
Type of species of snake?
Yeah, it's a species. And it's a friend that went to China, and he came back in a bottle, and then, you know, it took years and years, but then a couple of years ago, probably a year and a half ago, I went up to to visit this friend who I painted his daughter in kind of a mythic painting. He bought a painting off of me that he thought that he caused my jump because he said that I bought a painting off of you that you had in college that you said that you would never sell. And then when I bought it off of you, he says shortly thereafter you ruined yourself. And he said, I think it's because you sold it to me, so you broke a promise to yourself, and so you were punishing yourself, and then it was my fault. Like he tried to make it about him, because before I did that, I remember I was ripped, or maybe it was after. It was probably after. It was after I went up there. And I said that he reminded me of a grand devil in that he was smoking and he looked like a satyr, and that is the way he postured himself. He had very amazing, like, goat feet. He looked like a satyr human in shadow form, and that I had always pinned him. Yeah.
When you go mad in my screenplay, you transform into a horse.
Oh, well, I am part Sagittarius, and you know.
Is the horse related to the Sagittarius thing?
Yeah, well, Sagittarius is centaurs. Centaurs are half horse, half man, and I mean, unfortunately, I had to Photoshop myself to make certain I looked horsey. Nude online. That's right, basically. But yeah, no, it's centaur horses, Sagittarius. Fire. I was in Vegas and I was at this place and I was talking and we were like, hey, this lady's an Aries. Oh yeah, I'm a fire sign. I was like, I wonder if there's more fire signs in Vegas than there are, any other sign down there. So we're talking about how Capricorns need colder air and stuff like that. Some sort of nonsense. But anyway, let's talk about how the inmendham's mathematical unprowess is not his forte, and how that plays out as skewing one's forte away from no, never mind. What did you start another? Are you smoking another one of those things?
I was choking on I went down drinking coffee and it went down the wrong pipe.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, no, that. And what did you think when I mentioned that Christopher Michael Langan, the highest IQ guy, talking about the locked into a universe that's perfectly form fit to absolutely every concept and idea and reality that the individual has?
I relate that to inmendham and his life story, and him having what does he have, a unification theory, and he lives in a cabin and he walks every day, model away to live his life night and day to the end of his years. He lives in a cabin. Well, he's, and he's a dragon. But in my story, he's a dragon, a 12-foot dragon, and he lives underneath an island in this cave system. So it's a unique life. I don't know how it relates to the guy with the highest IQ, but you mentioned that the universe, or like all universes, like he's living in his own little world, and he's encapsulated in his own little world, his bubble. And I kind of discovered him.
Well, what do you think? What do you think of the idea? Like, as you said, hey, do you think he's really prolific with his videos, but do you ever think he's going to take off? And as opposed to the regular answer, like,
he would have to alter his mythology.
Yeah, like life. Something huge has to shift. He has to let go of something in order for something big to happen.
He has to be more.
No.
He has to learn how to communicate to people without exploding. By doing that, maybe he could get somebody on his little show that would listen to him.
Well, eventually somebody will have a show where they go and they interview
Maybe
him
he
in
should,
person. They do a documentary style interview.
Maybe he should change his name to Santino. Maybe that would work.
Yeah, he becomes the cat, and then anyway. But so I think that's peculiar, and I think my slasher young masochistic buddy, you know, his making that group, dospook and inmendham, that that the fact that you have the two of us as stapled characters against the Winchester house, and that you haven't seen MASH and you don't know the Winchester doctor character, but you know the supernatural character, and you know Asa means healer, and Winchester is a noble name like Burroughs that served a ring to it. And I didn't know the whole gun inheritance thing. I think you told me about it when you first told me about the lady that inherited that.
Yeah, she was married to a man who owned the Winchester repeating rifle. So she was the richest lady in the world at that time. And when he died, she inherited the fortune, the Winchester rifle fortune.
That's amazing. And they didn't even have a shotgun wedding. But yeah, so that's cool. I didn't know that. So they'll probably bring that up in the movie too. But yeah, the thing about that trailer that you had me watch is that it did and I guess I already told you that they just the way they do the shock, like, hey, throw somebody in the background and just make it scare the audience.
And how they do how modern horror movies come out nowadays with the audio, how you kind of almost like you hear the audio before you get the jump scare. You know, that loud, kind of really abrasive, loud noise.
And then it goes quiet. Yeah.
Happen.
Yep. Because then they can fool you.
The trailer.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think it's odd, but yeah. So what else do you want to add to the recording of our conversation? You want to sing that song you were singing real quick? You want to do a quick song?
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Sing it.
Sure.
Rabbit's blood in the carnival horse. It's a lovely little theme park and third world resort. Elementary physics, self-inflicted torment. It's all bourgeois magic and it's calling to the roof. Spiraling women and reproductive organs. Put all your love into the star. Jump off the roof. The Habu snake has declared the clown a saint as the red curtain rises. All prevailing concepts and phenomenon arises in the children's puppets. The Spanish read, suspended on the platform as they dance and sing to the music of the madness as they reenact the drama using pantomimic gestures for the royal crucifixion of the king's horse. Of the king's horse. The alarm bells are ringing, town full is singing, a manifesto chanted in the slithering snake. Offer in exchange a goose feather quill for the crucified of the saint.
All right, man. That's beautiful shit. You didn't sing that one to me before. So right on, man. All right on. Well, good. I think that's a
good ending.
Yeah, I think that's a good ending. I think I'll stop right there. Get right close to it. Clink.
You're gonna analyze the lyrics.
Yeah, well, I'll have to play it slowed down. It sounds like a mashup between dramas, you know, like me mostly, but a lot of inmendham and then some yours.
Painting, one of your paintings where you offer a rabbit to this woman to impregnate her.
Yeah, the rabbit test.
Yeah, I wrote a poem about the painting, but I used the jumping off the roof and things like that.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Wow. See, that's fun. There, that's good shit. There. Oh man. Oh, by the way, I never got an email about the coin that you bought, so I don't actually know if it went through. But I'm not going to worry about that because this was too artistic to fuck up with pragmatics.
When did you start recording?
I don't know. I mean, what, 10-ish minutes ago?